Well, we're in the process of trying to figure out why YouTube suggestions aren't working for our live shows. So as soon as we figure that out, we'll get that figured out and fixed to the best of our ability, because it's kind of annoying me. It really is. There for a while, YouTube was doing awesome, amazing, fantastic with suggesting when our live shows, or notifying, not even suggesting, but notifying, like actual subscribers who have the notification bell on, not notifying them. I don't get it, but it is what it is. We just keep doing the best we can. And I got a little bit of a late show going on for you tonight because we had a chorus recital for my daughters, so we had to go see that. Of course, they did amazing. So we had to buy them flowers and rewards and stuff like that. So a little bit of a late show, but you know what? That's life. It's a part of life. That's why I used to try to do a schedule with my live show, and it never worked out, because real life is real life. You never know what's going to happen, or things change from day to day. So I fit in these live shows wherever I can. And I suggest that people hit the notification bell, but sometimes that doesn't even work because YouTube doesn't notify. So that's the big thing that we have to get figured out. Anyways, we are up to 45 mini helmets. A lot of teams are represented. Today, we got the, right there, the UCF mini helmets. It's kind of out of focus, but you can tell that's UCF. And then on the other side, let me get my big head out of the way, Oregon State. And I was actually waiting on the Oregon State one because, not going to lie, no offense to my Oregon State subscribers, but I wasn't expecting a whole lot of Oregon State fans on this channel. So it was nice to see that. So I was actually expecting an Oregon State mini helmet because I saw a lot of Oregon State subscribers. So that's pretty awesome. Down to just a few surprise no-shows, I'll call them, as far as not getting a mini helmet from that fan base. Texas, that's kind of a surprise. USC, I know I have a lot of USC subscribers. Maybe Tennessee, Florida, Nebraska. So it's starting to shrink. The big brands are starting to shrink as far as not being repped in my background. Starting to shrink, and I'm pretty happy. We have a plan. I know, Golden Blue Dude, looks like you're running out of space. Yes. But top shelf, we still have several spaces, and we will expand again. You know how I talk about, stadium expansion and capacity and trying to improve your brand? Well, I'm trying to follow my own example. So next phase, we're going to have a shelf, the top shelf, I'll call it, run from that side of the wall all the way to that side. It's going to be anchored to the wall, and that's where each week, I haven't decided if it's going to be my top 25 poll or the AP top 25 poll, but either way, the top 25 teams are going to go on that shelf, and then we'll extend the stadium shelving all the way to the corner of the other door. That should be plenty of room for all the mini helmets. I think 132 of them. Because James Madison and Jacksonville State and a few others being bumped up. So, yes. Upper deck. There you go. I like it. The upper deck. But it's going to be, those will be for the top 25. That upper deck will be for the top 25. Still haven't decided if I want that to be my top 25 or the AP top 25. Maybe I'll set up a poll to see what you guys think who should be up there. Yes. When I can't make up my mind, I'll let you make up my mind. How about that? Quick reminder, if you haven't though, most people, whenever they come, they know the drill. They hit the like button. But in case you haven't forgotten, hitting the like button helps these videos tremendously. It helps the video get suggested more. Maybe it helps with the notifying for actual subscribers as well. I don't know. But in any case, it helps. So if you haven't, please hit the like button. Even if you don't like me or the video, it helps me and you, because it grows the audience. So you have more people to trash talk. So it helps you as well. And if you have a question for me, tonight's not going to be a live call-in because we are reserving those for Tuesdays and Thursdays. But if you have a question for me, and even on the live call-ins on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and a question for my guest, best way to do that, Super Chat. It's a little dollar sign that you see on the bottom right-hand corner, outlined in a heart now. Anything you put in that super chat, I will display on the screen, whether it's a question, a comment, a troll, you want to brag about your team, or you want to trash another team, or you want to trash me. Hey, we appreciate you supporting the channel so much that even if you're trying to trash me, we'll throw it on the screen and I will read it. You can ask people. It actually happens. It actually happens. Well, it's good to see that YouTube is actually notifying people, because we already have a bigger group than usual at this time. So that's refreshing. So earlier today, I did a video on the Big 12 under construction, right? And if you really think about it, 15 years ago, well, just for safe measure, 20 years ago, the Big 12 looks completely different than what it does now and what it will in a couple of years. And the difference between the Big 12 and the ACC, the Big Ten, the SEC, and the Pac-12 is they don't look different just because they're adding. They look very, very different because they've actually lost teams and they've added teams. So it doesn't even look like the Big 12 that we've all grown up and watched and come to love and all that stuff. And that's the only thing that I don't like about conference realignment. You know, the reason why conferences were created was to create regional football. And then you took the best of that regional conference and you put them up against the best of the other regional conferences. Well, now that it's turned into a money grab, regional doesn't mean a thing. It's all about who makes the most money, who's going to make the conference the most money, and that's what it comes down to. And it's kind of messed football up, to be honest with you. I miss the Big East. I know I'm a little bit of a homer because West Virginia was in the Big East, but the Big East in its heyday, the Big East was a good conference. It was a really good conference. Some of Miami's best teams were when they were in the Big East. I mean, 2001 has been argued by a lot of people as one of the all-time greatest teams. The 2001 Miami national champion Hurricanes has been argued as being one of the greatest teams of all time. Guess what? They were in the Big East that year. It's kind of what perpetuated them going to the ACC in 2004, hanging that banner in 2001. And they still had good years after that, but it's like they hit a wall once they hit the ACC. I don't know what happened. I really don't, because the recruiting's there. The recruiting is there. The competition is actually easier in the ACC versus what they saw in the Big East. I'm telling you, the Big East was really, really good back in the day. So I really can't tell you. Syracuse and Virginia Tech, they've kind of floundered as well. But the biggest shocker for me would have to be Miami. What the ACC was thinking when they grabbed Boston College, I have no idea. I mean, I guess they thought that they were getting the city of Boston's TV market. No, you're not. Boston is a professional city. You have the Bruins, you have the Celtics, you have, let's see, the Red Sox, the Patriots. I mean, that's a pro town. And Boston College, they don't even get the crumbs. They don't even get the crumbs. At least Pitt gets some of the crumbs of the Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates. Boston College absolutely does not get any crumbs whatsoever. So if you can really make fun of the ACC for one decision that they made, it would be getting, I mean, think about this, guys. Choosing Boston College over West Virginia. I'm not going to make the argument, between Pitt and West Virginia, or Virginia Tech and West Virginia, or Miami and West Virginia. Those do have, and at the time of 2004, they had stronger brands than West Virginia. So I'm not going to try to make that argument. But Boston College, come on. That was, it made no sense. I understand they thought they were getting, TV sets of one of the biggest cities in the nation, but they didn't do their homework. As usual, the ACC did not do their homework on Boston College, and it makes no sense. Even Syracuse, I would probably put above West Virginia because, shockingly, they do have the biggest fan base in the ACC. They make a lot of money for the ACC. A lot of people overlook that or don't realize that or don't see that. I don't know. And another thing that I talked about in today's video was I thought it was a bad decision that the Big 12 got West Virginia and TCU and nobody else after they lost Colorado, Nebraska, Missouri, and Texas A&M. Hindsight's always 20/20. We already know that. But in my opinion, I thought the Big 12 should have also tried to go after Louisville and Cincinnati. Well, since the making of that video, from what I've heard, the Big 12 actually did want Louisville, and Oklahoma was one of the big brands that vetoed that. I'm not sure if Texas vetoed it, but I know Oklahoma led the way. And now Oklahoma is leaving the Big 12. You talk about straight up screwing a conference. That's it right there. That's it right there. You keep a brand like Louisville out, and West Virginia and Louisville had a great rivalry, some awesome games, all-time great games. The one in Morgantown, and it was either 2006, 2007, that went into like triple overtime. That's an all-time classic. And, you know, I know Oklahoma and Texas have a lot of pull in the Big 12. It is what it is. But then they turn around and leave the Big 12, and the Big 12 was never able to pick up Louisville because Oklahoma didn't want Louisville. That's a tough pill to swallow, in my opinion. But going from the past, looking forward to the future, as the title of this video suggests, I do have a sneaky suspicion that in the future, the Big 12 and the ACC both will actively pursue the Backyard Brawl as a conference game. That is a big-time moneymaker. We saw it this year. Broke some records for a Thursday night game. I was there live. It now holds the record for the largest sporting event crowd in the city of Pittsburgh all time, ever, period. 2022 Backyard Brawl, largest crowd, sporting event or concert event, any of those types of events, all time, number one. TV ratings were really good, of course. So this is just my opinion. I mean, it just makes sense. Why would you not want a rivalry like that to be in conference? Now, the thing that everything splats up against the wall against every time you mention grabbing teams out of the ACC. It's different bringing teams in because all they have to do is sign the grant of rights. But getting teams out of the ACC is the grant of rights. Nobody is going to pay $500 million to get Pitt out of the ACC, even if it does mean that, you know, you solidify the Backyard Brawl. That's way too much money. So in order for the Big 12 to win this battle, two things are going to have to happen. Number one, either the grant of rights are going to have to go away via the vote. I think, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I've heard from a lot of people that it takes an 18 majority vote, which is really not that much, but still slightly majority for them to vote to dissolve and get rid of the grant of rights. I'll have to 100% make sure that, but that's what I've been told all over the place. That's what I've been told. So that would have to happen, or the Big 12 needs to stick it out and try to continue to exist until 2036 when those grant of rights open, and then get Pitt then. And the Big 12 does have some options before then. Of course, we've all heard about the four corners coming to the Big 12, Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado. That talk's kind of died down a little bit, but I'm still hearing that that's what the Big 12 wants to do, and that's what those teams want to do. They still want to see what kind of deal they're going to get as far as the TV deal, but that's not looking good. Fox backed out of the negotiations. ESPN capped their negotiations, and then the time frame is over. So I don't know what the Pac-12 is going to do as far as what their TV deal is going to look like. I have no idea, because now the timetable for negotiations for that TV deal is lapsed. Do they start all over again? Do they open it up again? I don't know how that goes. All I know is the Pac-12 is stuck between a rock and a hard place right now, and it's not a good situation at all. Not at all. Then they have to worry about the Big Ten grabbing Oregon, Washington, and probably Stanford and Cal, biggest interest. And then you'd have Oregon State, Washington State left over. And I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again because it's worth mentioning again. I understand the big draw, the four corners. That's a major marketing tool. We have the four corners. But I would substitute Colorado for Washington State. I really would. After doing my research, surprisingly, Washington State actually has a top 25 fan base when it comes to size. They really do. That shocked the heck out of me. Maybe it shocks the heck out of you. Maybe not. I don't know. But yes, they have one of the biggest fan bases in the Pac-12 and a top 25 fan base in the nation in size. Colorado can't even touch that. And I know the argument for Colorado will be, the Denver market. Once again, that's a Boston College argument. Denver is a professional sports team. You will be able to grab some viewers out of Denver, but you're not capturing Denver when you bring in Colorado. And right now, Colorado is one of the worst teams we've ever seen. Not just the worst team this year, one of the worst teams of all time. However, they did grab a win. I don't know how. I didn't watch the game. I haven't really looked at the statistics either, but I will. But yeah, they beat Cal. And because you got to, the reason that surprised me so much is they were losing games on average by more than 20 points. So they weren't just like barely losing games. The closest loss that they had was to Arizona by 23 points. That was the closest. Every other game, they got beat by 25 or more points. 25 or more points. So the fact that they beat Cal is a minor miracle. It really is. They're averaging, I think, 128th or 129th in points per game, like 15 points per game. And they're allowing around 130th points per game. I think they're allowing around 43, 42 points per game. That's a significant gap. I mean, think about that. 15, 25, 35. That's almost, well, that makes sense. Because you count up the gap, that's almost a 25-point gap. Let's see. They've been losing by, 25-plus points. Colorado is a horrible, horrible team. So I don't know what you know what? I'm going to look this up real quick. I got myself interested. Probably should have looked up this earlier, but I had no idea I was going to talk about this. Seriously, this is how my brain works. Things pop into my head that I had no idea that I was going to talk about, and so I'm unprepared. But that's okay. That's the power of the internet, right? So, all right. Scores. Let's go. Pac-12. All right, so Colorado, and it went to overtime, by the way. Colorado beats Cal at home 20-13. What was the line on this? Cal was favored by 15 points. So even the line was significant. That's significant. And the only reason they were only favored by 15 was because it was a road game. If this would have been at Cal, then Cal would have probably been favored by 3 touchdowns or more. I guarantee you that. Especially leaning towards the or more, because usually Vegas kind of, handicaps the home team 11 points. So major upset. I will say this, wow. Okay, so maybe I'm wrong. Okay, so they are still getting support. So going into this game, Colorado was 0-5, right? Their stadium holds 50,183, and the attendance was 50,471. Whoa. That's some good support for an 0-5 team. I maybe stand corrected as far as not getting support from Colorado, but Washington State does still have the bigger fan base. That is a fact. So at least I can fall back on that. That's surprising. Beyond capacity, guys. It holds just over 50,100, and just over 50,400 was there. So good job, Colorado. Good job. I was not expecting that at all. That was good, guys. That was good. Anyways, going back to the four corners argument, I guess they do get more support than I realized. But if you compare fan base sizes, Washington State does have the bigger fan base size. So I would still go with Washington State. I really do. I think they have the better brand too. I mean, they literally have this tradition where their flag makes an appearance in every college game day. It has never missed a college game day. And there's some sort of ritual where a person is selected. Apparently they have, and this tells you how big their fan base is, because they have alumni all over the country, and the alumni base that's closest to where game day is going to be, a person gets selected out of that alumni to wave the Washington State flag in the background. That's amazing. That is amazing. That right there is worth the price of admission. So I would take Washington State over Colorado. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's just my 2 cents. So between now and 2036, they can add the four corners. That would bump the Big 12 up to 16. You're not getting anybody out of the Big 10. You're not getting anybody out of the SEC. I don't think you're going to get anybody else out of the Pac-12. I mean, I guess they could add Oregon State and Washington State at the same time. But you got to make sure that each team is adding to the pie, not taking an extra slice of the pie. If you're adding teams that are not adding value, then you're just having to cut the same pie into more pieces. They have to add to the pie. That way, everybody's piece actually gets bigger. Even though you're having to split it more, your piece gets bigger. So I don't know about that, but I guess that's an option. So get the four corners right, and then hope that the ACC gets dissolved, or sit on your hands until 2036. Because I don't see any group of 5 team at this moment that would add anything. Maybe in the future, a Memphis or a Boise State or a San Diego State or a team like that, perhaps, or to get you to 24 in the future. But in this phase, I would say no. I would say stick at 16 until 2036. And then if the grant of rights don't get dissolved, then in 2036, the ACC opens. You need to raid the ACC. If that opportunity opens up, Big 12 needs to pounce. You need to pounce, because instead of being reactive, you need to be proactive. That's the one thing that's hurt the Big 12 throughout this entire realignment, expansion, whatever you want to call it, situation the past 20 years. Big 12's done nothing. They haven't tried to go out and get any teams and add value to their TV deal. And instead, they get plucked. Pause. All right, so let's say that the ACC does have 8 teams that decide to vote to dissolve the grant of rights. That's done, and it's easy pickings. I think the teams that are off the slate that the Big 12 won't have an option, don't even worry about it. Don't even go after them. Will be Clemson, North Carolina, Duke, Virginia, probably Virginia Tech as well. And I'm still iffy on Miami. Not sure about Miami. I think Miami's worth pursuing, because from what I'm hearing from different YouTube channels, YouTube social media outlets, Miami fans themselves, Miami is not happy with the SEC right now, simply because they prefer Florida State over Miami. They are taking it personal. So if the money's enough more than what they would be making in the ACC if they stayed, then I do think Miami would come to the Big 12, and that would help UCF and the eastern side of the Big 12, because I whine about West Virginia all the time being in the Big 12. I admit it. I whine about it all the time. Travel is brutal. We really don't fit in, but I'm grateful that we're in the Big 12, but I still whine about it. But after Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, and BYU joined the Big 12, UCF's going to have a bigger case to whine than even a West Virginia fan, because they're going to be out on an island. Their closest competitor, like I said in the video, is going to be West Virginia. That's still a long trip. And then not to mention trips to Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, BYU, probably at least once every 4 years, something like that. Iowa State, I don't know how they're going to do the scheduling. That's going to be a scheduling nightmare for UCF. So that would definitely help UCF if the Big 12 could pounce on the ACC. That's why I say go after Miami. I think it's worth at least a shot. You're helping UCF and Miami fans, even the higher ups, they're not happy with the SEC right now. I really do think the Big 12 would have a shot of getting Miami. But along with Miami, you would need to get Syracuse as well. I don't think the Big Ten is going to pick up Syracuse, and I don't think the SEC is going to pick up Syracuse. And I think that's a home run hire or a home run get for the Big 12 because you'll already have some good rivalries if you get these other teams in with with Syracuse, and they have a massive fan base. Syracuse will make the Big 12 some money. I promise you, they will. Even when they're not good in football, their fan base is tremendous. So Syracuse, yes. I think Georgia Tech. Now, Georgia Tech could end up going to the Big Ten because of academics and all that other stuff. Big Ten's liking Georgia Tech. But if the Big Ten doesn't get Georgia Tech, go after Georgia Tech. That kind of helps bridge the South with the North as well. Pitt, that's the team that I'm getting around to. If the opportunity opens up to where the Big 12 has a shot, even the smallest shot of getting Pitt out of the ACC, and they don't make an effort, then I will be making a clowning video on the Big 12 because that would be the stupidest mistake of all time. If you can somehow, some way get Pitt into the Big 12 and you lock in the Backyard Brawl in the Big 12, that is a big-time moneymaker right there that helps all your Eastern teams. That helps Pitt as well because they're going to have some rivalries with, Cincinnati and West Virginia. You're bringing in Syracuse. And I saw in one of my comments that Pitt and Syracuse are actually a package deal. If you think back to the ACC expansion, they came in together. So, yeah, I would be good with that. It makes sense. You have that rivalry, the West Virginia Pitt rivalry, the Miami Pitt rivalry. And if you have a shot of getting Virginia Tech, go after Virginia Tech as well. Although I think Virginia Tech will be picked up by the Big Ten if they can get AAU status. But if they can't, there's another great rivalry right there. Virginia Tech, West Virginia, Virginia Tech Pitt, Virginia Tech Syracuse, and Virginia Tech Miami. You have the best of the old Big East. That would be a tremendous opportunity for the Big 12. Tremendous. That's wave one. Second wave would be to get NC State and Wake Forest. NC State's a great brand, but the reason I'm not taking NC State all over these other brands is because of West Virginia. You already have West Virginia. If you want to make more money, then you need to bring in rivals of West Virginia and make that more valuable. So you're making West Virginia more valuable, and you're bringing in these other brands that are going to be valuable because of that rivalry. And then you bring in NC State and Wake Forest because NC State does have a tremendous fan base. They will make you money, and I don't think that you're going to be able to get North Carolina or Duke. I think there'll be a package deal to either the Big Ten or the SEC, but you can get NC State and Wake Forest as a package deal. All this might come down to package deals. It really might. I'm hearing Syracuse and Pitt package deal. Wake Forest, NC State could be a package deal. Take it. They're great rivalries. They're going to make you money. I like it. So that could turn into I don't know, not really a bidding war. It just depends on the grant of rights, really. That's what it boils down to. And the counter argument, and I see you, Nick Danger. I see you. A lot of people, I get it from both sides. There's nothing, and I'm not whining about it. I think it's awesome, to be honest with you. Nothing that I say will be correct, and I'm okay with that. If I'm saying that the ACC is going to fall apart and the Big 12 will be able to pick them apart, I'm wrong. But if I say, no, the ACC is going to be fine and they're going to figure out the grant of rights and they'll be able to add more teams, then I'm wrong that way. And I love it. There's arguments for both sides of the aisle of this, and that's why this is such a great argument. I love it. Dennis M., thank you for the $10 donation, says, just joining in, Do you think there will be just 3 conferences at the end of the day? I think SEC, Big Ten, and one other. BTW, did you get your pepperoni rolls? Yes, I did, Dennis M. And I actually did a shout out just for those pepperoni rolls on the community page. I made sure to wear the T-shirt and give the phone number and all that good stuff. Man, we have been eating those. See, so I had Dennis send it to my mom and dad. First, they ate some, and then we got them. We ate some. There's still a few left, but man, we went through them really, really fast. I don't know exactly how many you sent. You probably know, so I'll let you do the math. Out of how many ever you sent, I think there's a total of 5 or 6 left. 5 or 6 left. And there was a crap ton of them, guys. Crap ton of them. They're good. So good. Even the spicy ones. Man. Miss pepperoni rolls. You might have to be if you have like an online thing to where I can pay you, that would be worth like a monthly shipment for real. Seriously, for real. It's getting me distracted. Those things are so good that it distracts me. Man. But to answer your question, yes, I do think. Well, I think there's 2 options, Dennis. 2 options. I think that at the end of the day, it'll be either down to 3 conferences or 2 conferences. I don't think there's going to be more than 3 power conferences at the end of the day. I really don't. I think that's the max, but it could be down to 2. Big Ten, SEC get to their magic number, whether it's 24, 25, 30, or 32. They break off together, off from the NCAA, create their own playoffs, do their own thing, or they get to 16, maybe 24, and the Big 12 or the ACC get to 24. I think the Pac-12 is done. I give them about a 5 to 10% chance of surviving all this. They don't make good decisions. I'm not trying to trash talk the Pac-12. They don't make good decisions. So I don't think the Pac-12 lasts, but I do think they will backfill. I just don't think they'll be able. I don't know. They might be like the Big 12 and just keep backfilling with group of 5 teams and survive that way. But I don't know if they'll have enough brand recognition to where whoever does split off from the NCAA are like, sorry, you don't bring enough money. Technically, you have the numbers, but I mean, you gotta let's see what you got in there. You got a Colorado State in there. You got who's that over there? Oh, San Diego State. That's there's a Boise State over there. They're going to be, and I'm not trying to talk down on the Pac-12, but they will be looking down on the Pac-12. So maybe the Pac-12 survives, but I'm not sure if they'll make enough money to where the SEC and the Big Ten and whoever else is still up there allows them to join their playoffs. This will turn into an invitational type of thing. It's not going to be decided by the playoff committee. It's not going to be decided by a BCS thing. It's going to be an invitational type of thing. It'll be a playoffs. This is I'm hearing this from a lot of people. I'll make a video on it here in a little while. But from what I'm hearing, this is going to be set up pretty much like the NFL playoffs. That's the outline that they're wanting to follow, the NFL playoffs. I'm okay with that as long as we don't get too much like the NFL. That's my one fear of all. There's a reason why some people prefer college football and some people prefer the NFL. There's a difference. I like college football more, but some people like the NFL more. To each their own, right? You have a choice. Whenever you start blurring the lines and you make college football a little too similar to the NFL, what's the point? What's the point? They're seeing dollar signs, but I don't. I think maybe for 10 years, they're going to make a crap ton of money, but then afterwards, people are like, might as well watch the NFL. That's what we're watching now. I just don't think it's going to turn out the way they think it's going to turn out. I just don't. I have this gut feeling. There's a reason why, college football is separate and you have diehard college football fans, and you have diehard NFL fans, and I don't think it's going to work out if you try to make them too similar. I mean, maybe I'm completely wrong, and it works out just fine, but I don't know. I don't know anything anymore, guys. I don't know anything anymore. It's hard to tell. And there for a while, I was a big NFL fan. I've always preferred college football. Make no mistake about that. Always, like no question whatsoever. But there was a time, and it was late '90s, early 2000s when Atlanta was pretty good, and the Dirty Bird dance was running strong. Randy Moss played for the Vikings. That was entertaining. It was right before the New England dynasty kind of blossomed. I still enjoyed NFL after he won his first, but whenever they just started winning, that's when I kind of started getting sick of it. And I know you could make kind of the same argument with college football because of Alabama, but I've been a lifelong West Virginia fan my entire life. NFL, I started to like it around 96, 97, so it was a choice. Whereas being a fan for West Virginia, and I'm being honest, really wasn't a choice. It's just how it was. Best way I can explain it. But maybe as long as college football stays entertaining, it won't matter. I don't know. I just don't like the thought of that. I really don't like the thought of that. One of the biggest things that I like about college football is the rivalries, the pageantry, just all the little things that made it different. And I know there are certain rivalries in the NFL, but when you compare those rivalries to college football rivalries, there's not very many NFL rivalries that can live up to the college football rivalries. There's a couple. I would say, let's see here. Anybody in the chat, give me a good NFL rivalry that you think might perhaps compare to like Alabama, Auburn, Ohio State, Michigan, West Virginia, Pitt. You know, the big time rivalries. Anybody? I think the NFC East probably has the best NFL rivalries. I don't know which one's the best, but maybe Chiefs, Raiders, Steelers, Ravens, I don't know. Dallas, Washington. That's the one I was thinking of. There you go, Justin. That's the one. Packers, Bears. That's not bad. But the big one is Dallas, Washington. And I know it's kind of fizzled off recently, but that rivalry is so bad. There used to be fights on the field. Fights. Actual fights. And I always loved it whenever that game was on Thanksgiving because of, the whole Thanksgiving moniker. And it was Cowboys versus, I'm not going to say it because of YouTube, blah, blah, blah. But you know what I'm saying. It was the Washington, what they used to be. And it was just, it was a great time. It gave you an even better Thanksgiving feeling because of all that stuff. Who else? Lions, Packers. That's a decent one, but I mean the Lions, they're not any good. Let's see. Dallas, San Francisco. Well, there for a while, Dallas, San Francisco was good, but I think that was more whenever they both made the NFC Championship. So that was like that had a shelf life. I don't think these days it's all that great. But yeah, I guess there's a. Yeah, that's who I was thinking of, Kenny. But I'm not gonna say that on YouTube because of the whole cancel culture thing. But yeah, that's it. Kenny hit it right on the head. San Fran and Seattle. That's a newer rivalry. That's a budding rivalry, if you will. But I don't think it's one of the like big all time ones. Looking back through the Steelers Bengals, that's okay. Rams Niners. That one's heating up. That one could turn out to be a really, really good rivalry. Let's see. Chicago, Green Bay. Yeah. Philly, Dallas Giants. That's why I said the NFC East, because you could say Dallas, Washington. And I do think that Dallas, Washington is at the top. Okay. That's just my opinion. But you could also go Giants Philly. That's a great one. Giants Dallas, Giants Washington, Dallas Philly. I mean, all those are interchangeable, but I think the cream of the crop in that division is Dallas and Washington. But because of cancel culture, that's kind of lost its luster. You know what I mean? It is what it is. You have to adapt and move on. Point being is there's not very many rivalries in the NFL that can live up to the same type of hype as the rivalries in college football. I mean, even the game that we saw this past Saturday, the third Saturday in October, automatically we know that that's Tennessee, Alabama. Tennessee, Alabama. Third Saturday in October, Tennessee, Alabama. That's just the way it is. Iron Ball, Alabama, Auburn, Backyard Brawl, West Virginia, Pitt. You know, the list goes on and on. So it's I hold college football at a higher standard because they actually deliver. And with college football, think about this. With college football, records don't really matter. One team can be really, really good and the other team not so good, and it's a great game no matter what. In the NFL, I mean, great example was Packers-Lions. That might be a great rivalry, but the Lions have been sucking, and the Packers have been pretty good, and the Packers have been dominating that rivalry. So, really, how much of a rivalry is that anymore? I don't know. Well, let me ask you guys this. What division in the NFL, and there's a reason I'm asking this, okay? Try not to think about it. Pops in your head fastest, all right? I'm testing y'all real quick. What division in the NFL is the best division as far as rivalries and all that stuff? I'll give y'all about 60 seconds to do it in, to type it in. NFL division, like NFC East, NFC North, NFC South, AFC East, you know, all that stuff. Which one is the best, guys? Come on. Well, this is a test. Justin says NFC South. I'm keeping a timer on you guys. Keeping a timer. Let's see. I'm seeing who gets the majority here. NFC East, NFC East, NFC East. I like it. AFC South, AFC North, AFC North, NFC East, NFC West, NFC South, XFL. That was a troll comment. NFC South, AFC West, NFC West, NFC West. There you go. I think the majority was NFC East. All right, now off the top of your head, you ready? Best division in college football. Try to take your bias out of it. Best division in college football. And you can count the Big 12 as a division because they don't have divisions. All right? Best division in college football. And that would be like your Pac-12 North, Pac-12 South, which I know the Pac-12 is all one now, but you get what I'm saying. Big Ten East, Big Ten West, SEC East, SEC West, ACC Coastal, ACC Atlantic, so on and so forth. All right. SEC, somebody says Big 12 North, even though that doesn't exist anymore, but I got you. SEC West, SEC, 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 SEC West. You see? See the test? Even if people try to troll now and start typing in other conferences and divisions, there you go. Like, even your mind can identify with something much quicker with college football than the NFL. With the NFL, I know I told you to, try not to think about it, just put it down, but you still had to kind of think about it, didn't you? Maybe you went with the team that your division's in. I don't know. But with college football, I mean, we all know that right now the best division in college football is the SEC West. It is what it is. You might not like it if your team's in the SEC East or the Big 12 or the Big 10 East, and things can change. But we know, as college football fans, that right now it's the SEC West. Maybe, and now I'm getting flooded with the SEC East, but SEC in general is going to get most of the votes, right? It's flipping back over to the East, but if you take it in lumps like past 10 years, it's the SEC West. All right. I get commenting SEC East because of this year, and Georgia won it last year. But overall, past decade, past 15 years, it's been the SEC West. But anyways, that really proves my point, and I don't want that to go away. And here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing. If it does flip over to another division, like it looks like it might be going to the SEC East, then 5 years from now, if they keep that up, and I ask the question again, you're immediately going to say SEC East, 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 East. Where if I ask the NFL, you're still going to be thinking again, NFC West, no. NFC South, no. You got to think about it. That nothing stands out. I could ask the same question for the weakest. That might be a little bit difficult or a little bit more difficult for college football, but I think it would still pop out to you. And that was my point. Let's say the Big Ten West. This is crazy. I don't think it'll ever happen. But let's say the Big Ten West starts dominating, right? Well, if that started to happen, and it happened over a period of 5 years consistently, in 5 years, if I ask the question, I would get flooded with Big Ten West. That's the point I'm trying to make. And you guys prove the point. And I'm not here to point finger, I told you so, or whatever. I'm just saying that's how college football works, especially if you're a college football fan. So I'm glad that little test worked out. Pretty awesome. Maybe the ACC can start getting better. And I will say this year, the ACC Atlantic looks really good. It does. Wake Forest, as good as they were last year, they look even better this year. They took Clemson to double overtime and barely lost. That was a great game. And I think Clemson is much better than what they were last year. NC State, they were improving. Now, they don't have Devin Leary anymore. He went out with an injury, so they're not going to look good. But overall, and Florida State is looking much, much better. Boston College is a train wreck. Louisville, not good at all. But the ACC Atlantic looks much better this year. They have 3 teams, sometimes 4 teams ranked in the top 25 consistently. Forgot about Syracuse. Syracuse ACC Atlantic. They're pretty good. They're still undefeated. I know they played sort of a soft schedule, and they're really going to get tested next 4 or 5 games. But still, the ACC Atlantic looks really, really good. So ranked teams off the top of my head, Clemson, right? I think NC State's still ranked. Syracuse is ranked. Wake Forest is ranked. Florida State could get ranked again, but that's 4 teams. That's good for a division. That's good for a division. Let's go to the SEC East, right? You have Georgia, Kentucky, and Tennessee. Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, 3. So the Atlantic has more ranked, but the East has 2 in the top 10 or top 5, actually, Georgia, Tennessee. So that could kind of balance it out. Let's see, SEC West. Who all is ranked in the SEC West? You have Alabama. Let's see. Hold on, let me get to the super chat real quick. You have Alabama, of course. You have Ole Miss. Mississippi State, I think, is still ranked. I don't think Arkansas is ranked anymore. LSU was ranked there for a minute, but they're not ranked anymore. Maybe they did get ranked. I don't know. 3 off the top of my head, unless I'm missing somebody. I don't think Arkansas is ranked anymore. Fred Hill, thank you for the $2 donation, says, you wrote Colorado off, but fired our coach and won. Oh, well, yeah, because their coach, whenever, I don't even know what his name was, but under the old coach, y'all were terrible. And the reason I wrote Colorado off was not just because they lost, but the gap. Like I said earlier, Colorado's averaging around 15 points per game, and they're allowing around 42 points per game. That's a gap of almost 25 points. And their closest loss was by 23 to a bad Arizona. So, I mean, I think everybody in the nation was writing Colorado off. Colorado was on my number 1 worst teams for 6 straight weeks. 6 straight weeks, which I need to do my 10 worst teams. And Colorado's going to drop on that list. I don't think they're going to be number 1 anymore. So stay tuned for that. But Wouldn't you if you weren't a Colorado fan? I mean, losing by 25 or more in 4 of your losses, tying a record, and then your 5th loss was by 23 points. So these weren't close losses. You were getting absolutely blown out. That's why I was completely amazed that they beat Cal. They were a 15-point underdog at home against Cal. Had that game been on the road, they would have been a 20-plus point underdog to Cal. That's how bad you were. Now, from what I've heard, especially from the TCU game, I've heard from several TCU fans whenever they went to the game and watched the game that it wasn't just like watching one team being better than the other. It was almost like watching an NFL team versus a high school team, because of you could tell how big of a difference size was, and you could tell how big of a difference the speed was between the two teams. That's how big of a discrepancy. Now, if this new head coach is making that big of a difference, which first game, it's hard to tell, because sometimes that's just, the newness. Let's get a couple of games under this new head coach and see what happens then. But maybe that was all it took, because Colorado is only 2 years removed from having a pretty decent 2020 season. So maybe it does come down to coaching. But the reason I thought it was more than coaching was from what I heard from fans who watched games and told me, man, this is the size difference is bad and the speed difference is bad between Colorado and anybody. So maybe this coach has a game plan and can get Colorado, 3 or 4 wins. You got one. All you need is a couple more, and at least you're not the worst team in the nation like you were. Think about this, guys. This really baffles me. Out of all my bottom 10s, not one time has Kansas made it, which, well, of course, they're good this year. Yeah, but usually they're terrible. Okay, so let's keep this in context. Kansas has not made my bottom 10 or bottom 15 once. Vanderbilt, not yet. Not yet. But remember, they just got blown up by Georgia 55-0. But up to this point, right now, this point in time, Vanderbilt hasn't made my bottom 10 or 15. Let's see who else. Syracuse, who's usually really, really bad, hasn't made. Wake Forest. We're not too far removed from Wake Forest being the doormat of the ACC. They haven't made my bottom 10 not one single time. That's incredible, guys. Duke hasn't. Duke is a halfway decent football team this year, and they have not made my bottom 10 yet, or bottom 15. Any other cellar dwellers that haven't made it yet? Let's see. Well, Oregon State and Washington State haven't been good recently. They haven't been anywhere close to my bottom 10. I'm trying to think of anybody else that really pops out. Let's go to the Big Ten. I don't think Rutgers has yet. I know they were on the watch list. Maryland hasn't. They've actually had a halfway decent season. Northwestern has. Northwestern, they're a bad team. They're a really bad team. So they've definitely made my bottom 10, bottom 15. Illinois avoided it. They're having a really good season. Only one loss, a baffling loss to Indiana, but still only one loss. Indiana's gotten close, but I don't think they've made it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think they've made it. Poor Nebraska. They were firmly in my bottom 10 to start the year. They've kind of bounced out of it, but to start the year, whoever thought that Nebraska let's rewind about 30 years, whenever Nebraska was the Big Red Machine. Whoever thought Nebraska was going to be in the bottom 10 as far as worst teams in the Power 5 conference for any stretch of amount of time? Nobody. Back in the day, even if you were a good team and maybe you were expecting a 10-win season and get to a good bowl, if you saw Nebraska on your schedule, well, for one thing, hopefully it's at the end of the season, so it's not a momentum killer. The second thing is that is a for sure loss, and that is a for sure bad loss. That's how good Nebraska was back then. Now they've turned into sort of a joke. They look better since they've gotten rid of Scott Frost, but still, there's a lot of recovery time over there at Nebraska. Who is Nebraska going to hire as their new head coach is the biggest question. I think they should go after Hugh Freeze, Tom Herman, maybe Matt Campbell. I've heard Matt Campbell. Lance Leipold out of Kansas. Yes, Lance Leipold out of Kansas. That would be a good hire. Let's see. I think that would be my top 4. And I'd really have to do some digging to bring out my new top 5. Nebraska's the new Kansas. Well, Nebraska was the new Kansas. They have gotten better ever since they fired Scott Frost. Man, he had some high expectations. Think about this. Rewind 4 years. UCF just won their national championship. And I'm not even using quotations. It's in the NCAA records. UCF 2017 national champs. I mean, it is what it is. You might not agree with it. Alabama, is that year's national champ, but they are considered one of the national champs in 2017. So coming off a national championship, hired at Nebraska. Nebraska wasn't really that bad at the time. They weren't great, but they weren't bad. And then Nebraska just takes a straight nosedive. Wow. Why did that happen? I'm trying to figure that out because from the recruiting class rankings, it seemed like Nebraska was still recruiting at a really good level, like top 20, top 15 consistently. I don't know what happened. And even last year, they went 3-9, but their worst loss was by 9 points. So it's like, he just can't get over the hump. And then this year, he slid further back from the hump. So yeah, they did the right thing. And he was a former player at Nebraska. He loved Nebraska. He knew how to recruit there. So he had all the ingredients, and it just did not work out. I can't figure it out. If anybody, for that hire, if anybody seemed like a home run hire for Nebraska, Scott Frost seemed like a home run hire. Not just because he played for Nebraska and had success there, but he had great success as the head coach of UCF. That seemed like a home run hire. It really did, guys. It surprised me. I'm not going to lie about that. And it's a shame, too. I do think Scott Frost is a good head coach, but something wasn't right, and I can't put my finger on it. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. This was a little bit of a later show because my daughters had a chorus recital that we had to go to, and it was actually pretty good. It was 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and they all did their separate sections. It was really cool. It was really awesome. And that's why I encourage people to make sure to have the notification bell on. Although recently YouTube hasn't been notifying people, and that's driving me absolutely crazy. But it seemed like YouTube did a decent job this go around. So hopefully that trend continues. Anyways, on the way out, please make sure to hit the like button. Even though we won't be live anymore, it still helps the video hit the YouTube algorithm, gets more views. And that's really what keeps these channels going, especially when you go full-time. And that's what we do here. We do this full-time, regular videos every day, and pretty much live videos every day as well. And don't forget to check out Patreon. Joey, if you're still in the chat, put a link to the Patreon. Every week we have a score prediction contest. The Patreon that comes the closest to guessing the actual score with the correct winner wins $20. And a couple weeks ago, I made a boo-boo. I said once we hit $300 with the patrons, we would bump that up to $150. I did my math incorrectly. If I were to do that, the channel would actually lose money. So in order to keep the gap where it needs to be, I'm still going to bump it up. But once we hit $300 worth of patrons, we're going to bump it up from 20 to 25. That's still a $5 bump. And right now, at last check, we're at $279. So only $21 shy of the prize being bumped up again. And I think what I'm going to do is every $100, I'll bump it up $5. And if the gap's bigger than what I thought, I'll actually bump it up to 10. But we'll try it at 5 and see how that looks, and then bump it up again if we need to. So, yeah, do we have any mods in the chat? Because we got a bot in the chat that's spamming. Is there somebody else that's spamming? I don't see anybody else that's spamming. I don't know. Anyways, check out the Patreon page. We have the score prediction contest, and we have a lot of Patreon-only live shows. Live shows just for the Patreons. So this is for a smaller audience to where you can interact with me and Joey and Tim and whoever else is in the room on a one-on-one basis. Those live shows are really, really good. Smaller audience, so they can be more personal and more of like a hanging out, talking about things that you really want to talk about sort of thing instead of what I want to talk about. Anyways, so go check out Patreon page. I promise you it is worth your and you can start for $2 a month, as low as $2 a month. You don't have to be a big spender to be a Patreon. All right, guys. Hopefully y'all enjoyed yourself, because my job isn't to be right all the time. It really isn't. A lot of people, I really pity people that think they have to be right all the time. Could you imagine the pressure of feeling like you need to be right all the time? That's not me. I'm not trying to be right all the time. I'm not worried about that. My job is to talk college football and try to entertain you. That is my job. If I've allowed you to forget about your stresses and troubles of the day just for an hour or so, then I've done my job. Not worried about being right. I'm really not. Everybody's wrong. It happens. So if I've done that, then I've done my job, and that's a good day right there. So anyways, y'all have a good rest of your Monday. We will have another live show tomorrow. I never know what time because of life, so that's why I encourage people to have their notifications on. But we will definitely have a live show. And, of course, every day, regular videos. Who knows what topic I'm going to do a video on tomorrow. So make sure to hit the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber, especially if you're a college football fan. That's the biggest deal here. All right, guys. I will see you tomorrow. I don't know what time because of life. Y'all have a good night.